calm and sure grittiness.
It starts with an attitude. We need swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm your host today, TJ, flying solo. Zach's away with the family this weekend, and I ran into a bit of a snag yesterday, so I wasn't able to go Saturday night where we like to go. So Sunday afternoon, while football's going on, that's when I'm doing this. It's good to be with you guys. We're 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey. You can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey. You can hop in the Fantasy Hockey Discord. Tons of stuff going on there. We're flirting with 3,000 members. 3,000 active managers who are giving advice, seeking advice, all sorts of stuff. We got the YouTube channel you guys are welcome to and encouraged to check us out on, and the Twitter at FHF Hockey. I can't remember if I said that or not. Okay, so today's going to be all business, no banter. Sorry about that. Boys are busy right now. Let's get into the script for week 3. Let's go over some storylines, some beat up teams, man. Florida keeps getting hit. LA keeps getting hit. Ottawa. Brady Tkachuk out to 6 to 8 weeks. He got surgery, thumb in hand. This is going to be a pretty big trickle down effect. I'm imagining that, obviously somebody's going to get better deployment. I think Giroux had gotten the first look on the top line, and it was a little bit like it's the same thing that I'm noticing with the Panthers. Yes, somebody gets better deployment, but you're also losing some of your best players, some of the guys that you would want that deployment to be with. So right now, Kaliev, Stutz, and Giroux on line 1, which is a far cry from what it used to be. Line 2, Batherson's back. Shane Pinto got moved down. So I don't know. With this and with that level of injury, I'm imagining that I think they're going to front load some of this stuff. I think Pinto maybe moves up either left wing 1 where Kaliev is, or maybe Cousins goes to the wing. Giroux maybe comes down. Like, I imagine that they're going to reformat these lines to fit the timeline that Tkachuk's going to be out. So don't really bank on Kaliev being a line 1 guy, and really the only guy that you're really cashing in on is Stutz. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. On the power play, it looks like Ridley Grigg gets to move up. Tim Stutz is up there. Batherson, Cousins, Sanderson. Anze Kopitar week to week with a foot injury. Laferriere saw some time at 1C, but there was also in game. Hiller was moving Quinton Byfield up to the 1C. And this is something I've been talking about every time we talk about the Kings. This is going to be the season where Byfield really starts to take the reins as the 1C. Anze Kopitar, this is his final season. This is when he's retiring. So they really need to prepare themselves, and so does Quinton Byfield. They need to prepare themselves to have a 1C in the post-Kopitar era. And I think this is only a matter of time. So Anze Kopitar week to week, if Byfield starts to run with that, and okay, this train keeps getting derailed, but I think the original news that had came out and people were scurrying to the waiver wire to pick up Laferriere. I still think it's a good move. He's great for hits. He shoots a bunch. His deployment is going to get better, but I also think that Quinton Byfield is gonna be the main beneficiary of Anze Kopitar going down. So right now, I don't know that I believe that Laferriere is the long-term 1C. Daily Faceoff either hasn't been updated or that's still what they're going with. But there were shifts yesterday that that Byfield was taking reps with Kempe and Fiala. So that would be the line that I'd be looking towards, and that would be the place that I'd be looking for extended value. Not that Byfield is necessarily on the waiver wire or available to pick up, but LaFerriere might not be as attractive as an option as he was before, I still think his value goes up a little bit. Darcy Kemper, also on the Kings, out for a couple weeks. This is when we're going to look to Forsberg and Phoenix Copley, who just, I guess, was reacquired, was picked up, I think, through a waiver transaction. The Lightning picked him up, and then future considerations, he came right back. So that was just, I don't know, paper transactions. It seems like sending a guy down with extra steps. John Klingberg out indefinitely, lower body injury. That's where we're going to see Dmitry Orlov get some power play one time. Also look to Sam Dickinson possibly to get some reps up there. In Detroit, I'm seeing Lucas Raymond as day-to-day. I got to check if that's updated. I wrote these notes in preparation for yesterday. Lucas Raymond looks like he came back, so skip me on that one. Actually, no, he's playing today right now against Edmonton. So Raymond is back. Ignore that. Aiden Hill, day-to-day, minor lower body injury. That's where Kira Schmid's going to come in. Further to the Vegas Golden Knights goalie situation, Carter Hart is on a PTO. He's going to practice with the team, and he's not eligible. Like, he is in Yahoo, just got added back to Yahoo, but isn't eligible to play until December 1st. So we're looking at a month and a half of Carter Hart not, like, you know, if you're going to pick him up now, he's probably going to have the NA tag in Yahoo, and that's not IR plus eligible. So you're just going to be carrying dead weight on your roster until December 1st. Wherever you land on the allegations against him, stuff like that, it's a bold move by Vegas. Carter Hart, as a Philadelphia Flyers fan, I knew, looking back in hindsight, you could really see how these Hockey Canada, as the news started coming out, that's when Carter Hart kind of deteriorated his level of play. And I think he's a very, like, he lets his mental take over a little bit. I don't think Vegas is going to be very friendly to Carter Hart. Guilty, not guilty, doesn't matter. It's just, you have that stigma that's attached to you forever. I don't know that he's going to be able to get rid of that in his mind. So it's going to be a really, really rough beginning to Carter Hart's, like, re-entry into the NHL. I have really low hopes for him in terms of his fantasy value, his ability to stay consistent, or even to play at a high level. Now, time will tell whether or not I'm wrong on that one, but plenty of experience as a Flyers owner, or Flyers fan rather. And I think the year that he was especially good was the COVID lockdown year, like bubble hockey, if I'm remembering correctly, or maybe that was the year that he cratered. And it was right around the same time that these Hockey Canada allegations started coming out. And I Carter just went down with the ship. Yeah. So I really don't want to get too much more on that. Returning players. Let's talk Calgary, because they are going to be the marquee team this week with the 4-4, 4 games played, 4 off nights. Johnny Huberdeau is back, activated from IR. This is huge for the Flames, and a perfect week for this to happen too, because we're going to be targeting Flames if you're looking for volume. Stefan Nason is getting close. New Jersey Devils, also a pretty decent schedule, and if he comes back, it really opens up the options in New Jersey, because there isn't much of anything in New Jersey. I think when I was looking at the Yahoo ownership, I'm going to pull it up again right here. It goes 100% Jack Hughes, 99 Jesper Bratt, 95 Hamilton, 94, 94, 90, and then 10%. So the big names are, like, really highly owned, and then it's just nothing but low level streamer, guys like that. But Stefan Nason has been power play 1 in times past. Sheldon Keefe seems to favor him on the power play. So if he does come back, that's an immediate boost and an immediate eyebrow raise. Like, I'm not saying he's a must add. Not a big fan of that term, just based on how widely applicable scoring settings are in fantasy hockey. So it's tough. But he'd be somebody to look at, because those power play points that it gives him exposure, probably also moves Dawson Mercer off the power play. So my suggestions this week for the New Jersey Devils is one of those two guys. And if Nason's back, then Mercer is pretty much out of contention, out of consideration. And then Nason would be the guy I'd be looking at if he is back. Some notable performances and things worth talking about. Matty Schaefer, man, 4-game point streak, power play 1 quarterback, was taking shifts as the power play 1 quarterback. I think this is something we talked about last week, but he's been practicing up there and he's been playing up there. Not only does this pretty much truncate any value that Tony DeAngelo had, but it also, there's a huge boost to Matt Schaefer's value. I think his ceiling in terms of like his value to the team, not talking from a fantasy perspective right now, I think he could be close to or better than Noah Dobson. So their trade, or whatever, it starts to make sense because they probably already had it in their mind that they were going to get Schaefer, and that's an easily replaceable. I'm thinking of like Indiana Jones right now, where he takes the gem or the monkey thing and puts the bag of sand there. Connor Bedard looks like he's breaking out. Leo Carlson's starting to develop, and in Philadelphia, Matvei Mishkov has been getting benched. He's not been seeing OT time, things like that. We've been getting a lot of questions on Mishkov. I think in terms of coaching, stylistic changes, there has been none from Tortorella to Tocchet if you're Matvei Mishkov. Everybody else seems to have figured out a level of play that works for them, and they look decent going into the season. But Mishkov seems to be the guy that's really getting the Tocchet shaft here. So keep an eye on that one. I don't know what he needs to work on to get out of the Tocchet doghouse, but it is happening nonetheless. And it's really tough. Mishkov was, pretty highly drafted. The ceiling was pretty high on his projections in terms of like point capability and things like that. He's not going to be able to get there if he's getting benched every third period and he's not seeing OT time, and his power play deployment is going down, and it's just a bad look. Let's talk about the schedule now. We'll get into the schedule snapshot. There are 55 games this week. Monday's got 5, Tuesday 10, Wednesday 3, Thursday 12, Friday 4, Saturday 13, Sunday 8. A very pleasant, heavy Sunday. I love that. Normal heavy nights, normal off nights. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday are our off nights, and that's where Calgary really excels. They play each of those games. Let's talk about some back-to-backs. I'm not going to dive too deeply into this one, but if you're looking for goalie starts, this would be the part of the show where you get your pen and pencil out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up until Saturday. And then Saturday, Sunday, there are a mess of back-to-backs. So this one's going to be really good for cherry-picking goalie starts if you chose to go 0G, or you were fading goalies in your draft, or you're like me that has Mackenzie Blackwood and has been scrambling nonstop to find goalie starts. Also a mess of injuries on my team. Every time I pick up my phone, somebody else is hurt. It was Jesus. Marchessault got hurt. God, I mean, I could just pull up my team right here because it's been such a mess. Trocheck got hurt. PLD got hurt. Marchessault, Mark Stone at the end of the game the other night. It's just been nonstop. Like everybody on my team keeps getting hurt. It's so brutal. Anyway, enough bitching. Right. Monday, Tuesday, you got Seattle with a back-to-back. They're going to be at Washington at Philly, then at Washington. The Buffalo Sabres and the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have a home-and-home Friday, Saturday, which is going to be pretty interesting. Tuesday, you got the New Jersey Devils, Toronto and Minnesota. Wednesday, Thursday, Detroit and Montreal. Thursday, Friday, San Jose and Winnipeg have back-to-backs each. Friday, Saturday, that's where Buffalo and Toronto have their home-and-home. Also, the Blue Jackets and the Washington Capitals have their own. Saturday, Sunday, Colorado, Dallas, Edmonton, Los Angeles Kings, Minnesota, Nashville, Tampa, Utah, Vancouver, Vegas. That's a lot of back-to-backs. So the weekend preview that the boys are going to take you on later this week is going to be flush with goalie starts. So if you're like me and have been scrambling, like I think I added Spencer Knight for last week. This week I'm looking at guys like Cam Talbot or Alex Lyon or whatever to get starts where I can until Blackwood comes back. And I think he got sent down and then he came right back up. He didn't even play a game. So I wonder if he's close. And I really hope so. Okay, let's get into the streaming strategy portion of the show. There's one team in Tier 1 to target this week, and it's Calgary. They have 4 games played, 4 off nights. The next tier is 4 games and 3 off nights, and that's Buffalo, New Jersey, Winnipeg, Minnesota. Hold on, let me scroll over to the game grid so I can do this in tandem here. Buffalo, New Jersey, Minnesota, Winnipeg. That's your Tier 2. Tier 3 is San Jose and Montreal because they have the 4 games, 2 off nights. And then our Tier 4, 4 games, 1 off night, and then 3 games, 2 off nights. I kind of have those together. And that's where you're going to see this giant mess of teams in the middle. It goes all the way from Seattle down to Vancouver. That's Seattle, Colorado, Dallas, Edmonton, Los Angeles Kings, Nashville, Utah, Vancouver. 4 games, 1 off night for those. Only 2 teams with 3 games, 2 off nights. Vegas, super spread out. They have a Monday game, and then they don't play again until Saturday, Sunday. So this one's hard to really pin inside of a higher tier or anything because you're not going to be able to make a move for Saturday. Saturday is plumb chock full of games. You're going to have bench risk issues. New York, they have Monday, Thursday, and Sunday. So if you're going to be holding somebody from New York, I think it's good early in the week, but then you kind of either drop them right away, let them clear waivers, and then try to make another pickup back for the same guy for Sunday, or you're holding them all week, which seems like a bit of a wasted move. So they're not really teams that I'm talking too much about. Calgary, as the lone Tier 1 team, they're going to be playing Winnipeg, Montreal. They're at Winnipeg again, and then New York Rangers. Now, Calgary's been having trouble getting things going. From a consistent standpoint. And 2 games against Winnipeg is not going to help that at all. But Montreal, they're probably in the same weight class. I'd probably put Montreal a little bit ahead, but Montreal lost Caden Cooley. Patrick Laine's hurt for whatever that's worth, but they're going to be a little bit easier of an opponent. Then you have the New York Rangers, and the Rangers are on the road. They've been having a lot of trouble at Madison Square Garden, so I just don't know if they're in the right headspace, if there something psychologically is off with the Rangers. They're such a strange team. They've been an enigma for 2 years. Players I'm looking at for Calgary, Matt Coronado is going to be the guy you're hearing the most about, and for good reason. He's been hot. He's somebody I talked about last week to Zach and Raj. He has been on fire. He's 18% rostered, which makes him widely available in 4 out of 5 leagues. He'd be somebody I'm putting at the top of my list. If you're looking for points, he's the guy. If you're looking for some more peripherals, that's where Blake Coleman comes in. Tri-eligible, which is great on top of the fact that he's playing all off nights. So you have that versatility with the positions, and you also have more wide open nights to play him on. Johnny Huberdeau, always worth a shot. He's 35% rostered, center left wing. Going to be getting, primo deployment as far as that team goes. Surprisingly enough, I guess, not since he lost the top power play, but Rasmus Anderson, 45% rostered. If you're getting a little deeper and maybe need a D stream. Zane Parekh is one that I'm super on the fence about because the ceiling is there for him to get the deployment. It just hasn't happened yet. And he's such a hot name for that ceiling that as soon as he gets power play 1, he's going to get snapped up. So you find a lot of people that are just holding on to him, waiting for that moment. And with somebody like Mackenzie Weegar up there, I just don't see that moment happening for him, at least while Mackenzie Weegar is kind of where he is player-wise. That can change at any moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Parekh's getting some top power play looks, but I just don't know that it's going to be an extended type of, it's not going to happen soon. And it's only going to happen if their struggles continue and it looks like it's coming from the power play and they need a different look. I don't know. a lot of things need to fall into place for Perek to get top power play. So if you want to take that swing this week, fine. But I am firmly saying that I don't think he gets top power play. He is getting power play 2, which is pretty decent. Some great bang options here out of Calgary. Ryan Lomberg, Adam Klapka. Ryan Lomberg, 32 hits through 6 games played. Over 5 hits a game. Fantastic. That's a great stat line. Adam Klapka is averaging around 4 a game. He's got 23 through 6 games. And that'll be it for the guys that I'm like specifically interested in. There's going to be other options, it's just, I don't, those are the guys, those are the marquee guys. Tier 2 is Buffalo and New Jersey. Buffalo, we're going to start out with, they're a bit shorter. Actually, Jersey is too. And Winnipeg and Minnesota also in this tier 2. Buffalo is going to be at Montreal. They're going to play Detroit, Toronto twice, home and home, remember. Owen Power. So the reason I like Owen Power for this week, if you're targeting peripherals, those 2 games against Toronto, they're going to be a shot fest. Toronto, plenty of blocks to go around in those last 2 games. So that's why I really like Owen Power going into this week. Zach Benson is another one that's getting a lot of play just based on deployment, necessity, I guess, line 1, power play 1, keeping in mind that it's Buffalo. So yes, you can get guys on off nights, but they can still give you 0 points on an off night. So you have to find a mix of quantity and quality. Benson is one of the guys that I'd have higher on my list, but right now, firmly, Matt Coronato, number 1. And I think that's going to be the case all the way down the list. Amongst this tier 2, Buffalo, Zach Benson would probably be my number 1 ad if all those Calgary guys are gone and you're not looking for periphery. Josh Doan is somebody that's been a hot name coming up a lot. I think he had a 2-goal game that's gotten people really excited about him. 5 points on the year, 5 games. He's also shooting a bunch, which is awesome. And the time on ice is a little bit worrisome, but he's line 2, power play 1. So if you need kind of like an off-the-wall dart, Josh Doan is 4% rostered. So we're talking deep leagues right now. Right wing only. But going into the next week, like if your other options are kind of exhausted, being Zach Benson and Matty Coronato, I think I might even have, I don't know, I'd probably have Blake Coleman below Zach Benson, all things equal, but that extra game really starts to solidify it for Blake Coleman. So I think I'd lean Coleman even more. And Huberdeau, right up there too. I'd probably have all those guys above these Buffalo teams. If you're looking for blocks, that's where I'm going, Owen Power. New Jersey Devils, Stefan Nason, Dawson Mercer, like I was talking before. Nason's dual eligible at wing, and Dawson Mercer is center right wing, both under 10% rostered. Again, just monitor Stefan Nason's health and monitor who's getting the power play looks. Maybe they like the way it's going with Mercer. They've been flip-flopping on Luke Hughes and Dougie Hamilton. The power play is a pain point for them right now. So I think they're fixing things up and they're just waiting for Nason to come back. So, I haven't seen any lines. I don't have any insider knowledge, but just based on how kind of scrambled they are with their power plays, I'd imagine that as soon as Nason comes back, they are immediately turning to him on the top power play. For bangs, you're going to look at Brendan Dillon. He's got 2 blocks, 3 hits a game through 5 games. Paul Cotter's giving you 3 hits a game. And that's all I got on Jersey. Really thin team in terms of streaming options. Winnipeg is too. Iafallo, tri-eligible. The only reason I have him here is because he's on power play 1. There's nobody else I like in Winnipeg. Nemesnikov, maybe. I like Nino, but I would go for Nino for periphery. And even that, he's not really giving you a ton. He does have 5 points through 5 games, but that's such a Nino thing to do. 2 goals, 3 assists, 10 shots on goal through 5 games. He's also got 10 hits and 2 blocks. So he's giving you the periphery. That feels like a safe floor. It's a really shallow floor, only 2 hits a game. But, if you like the mix of periffs and point potential, I think Nino is probably a good option. If we're going back and we're ranking, I still have, before I brought Jersey into the fold, I'd still have Benson above anybody from Jersey. I'd have Benson above anybody from Winnipeg. And then I'd have pretty much all of Calgary above Benson, with Blake Coleman kind of on even ground with Benson, because I favor that extra off night from Coleman. He is technically ahead of Benson. Josh Doan would be somewhere in the mix. I don't know. I think I would like Doan better than Nason, and I don't really like anyone from Winnipeg. Although their schedule is pretty fucking cool. 2 games against Calgary, Seattle, Utah. So I don't know. It's worth a shot on Nino, but that's a full week hold just to see which Nino you're going to get. Nino always feels like a coin flip, so it's really strange. Minnesota is a fun team to talk about right now from a fantasy perspective. They have scored 16 goals in 6 games. Only 6 of them are at even strength. So 10 of their 16 goals have been power play goals, and that's where Vladimir Tarasenko enters. He's on power play 1. He's got 4 power play points, 1 goal, 4 assists all day, and 10 shots on goal through 6. So he's not like really firing them off in terms of shot volume, but that top power play deployment, just how heavily they're leaning on their power play right now to get things done. I think any exposure you can get to that power play is where you should lean. Tarasenko, though, I'm not confident. God, like he's just lost a lot of cachet over the last few years. I am confident in Minnesota's power play right now to get things done and their necessity for it. So I do like Tarasenko right now in terms of I'd probably have him either on par or above Zach Benson. So Calgary all the way at the top, that's where Tarasenko and Benson come in. Marco Rossi right behind those boys, and that's where you start to get into that Winnipeg, New Jersey kind of kerfuffle, the cluster of players there. Tons of blocks, or tons of bangs in Minnesota too. You got Yakov Trenin, who's got 28 hits through 6 games. Jake Middleton, 8 hits, 15 blocks through 6. Yeah, Ryan Hartman, man, he's somebody I want to talk about, and only for the powder keg, like I guess powder keg ability. I don't know. Like he's got what 20 shots. He counts for 2 of Minnesota's 6 even strength goals, and line 3, power play 2, and just generating that amount of shot volume. His minutes are decent, especially for somebody on line 3. But in terms of like shot volume, man, I think he's 3rd. He's behind Boldy and Kaprizov. So yeah, and he's getting far less minutes. So it just feels like once that even strength dam or the levee breaks, that's where Ryan Hartman's going to start to not explode. Like I'm not calling for a breakout here or anything, but it just seems like Hartman's going to get a couple. And is this the week that they do it? Like, the New York Rangers have been, like, they're at the Rangers, so they're going to be playing in Madison Square Garden, where the Rangers have not been good. Then they're at New Jersey, and New Jersey seems like another team that's trying to fix their shit out. Then they have Utah and San Jose. That's after they travel back to Minnesota. San Jose is kind of a gimme game. Like, they're getting a little bit tougher than they used to be, but it still feels like, you can really rack them up there. And Utah, that's another enigma. So, I like the front half of Minnesota's, and that's where Tarasenko comes in. If you're in a deeper league, that's where I start to look at Hartman. I firmly place Hartman in with the Winnipeg guys, Iafallo, Nino, Stefan Nason, like at that bottom tier of streamers. Tier 3 for teams, Montreal, San Jose. There's only one real name that I like to talk about here in Montreal. That's Zach Bolduc, who is 35% rostered. So he's quickly, making a name for himself. He's got 3 goals, 1 assist, 2 power play points, 15 shots on goal, 9 hits. So he's given a little bit of everything, which is really nice. Line 3, power play 1. His minutes are under 15, so it's a little bit worrisome. But he is such a trigger on the power play. That is where he really excels. So I like him a lot there. I even though you're only getting, I think, 1 off night out of these teams, I have to scroll up here to make sure. 2 off nights out of San Jose and Montreal. I like Zach Bolduc just from a pure, like, I think he's going to be somebody that we talk about all year. Very good early week. Like, you can just get those off nights out of the way. Get somebody like a Bolduc, get somebody like a Tarasenko. You're 2 moves in, and you just added 4 games out of those 2 moves. And then you could swap to somebody like a Friday, Sunday team like Calgary. Not that Coronado is going to be around anymore, but Jersey options start to dwindle a little bit. Winnipeg, that's where Nino could come in. San Jose, we got Will Smith, Will Eklund, Toffoli. There's options in San Jose. So for the front half, Minnesota and Montreal are one of the teams to really, really look at. Buffalo's up there too. Calgary, obviously, with all the off nights. In terms of the front half of the week, Zachary Bolduc is my number 1 pick over Coronado, over anybody from Buffalo, over Tarasenko. But when you're looking at the scope of the full week, that's where Coronado really edges out, because these back half games on Thursday and Saturday, where you're either likely not able to get somebody like Zachary Bolduc in, or you've already moved on to somebody else. The ideal streaming schedule would be Bolduc for the first half against Buffalo and Calgary, and then move over to Coronado, or move over to even somebody from San Jose. I'd be into that. That would be my ideal streaming. Make the swap on Thursday during all those heavy games, and just invest 1 day early and get into that back half of the week. So that's it from Montreal. Like I said, Bolduc, 3 goals, 1 assist through 6 games, 4 points in 6 already, 15 shots, just peripherals all over the place. This boy can riff. There's some options in San Jose, and I really like the way that their schedule finishes the week. So again, the swap can happen. Tyler Toffoli is dual eligible at wing, 49% rostered. He's, half available. Line 2, power play 1. He's got some shots. He's got some power play points, only 3 points. Dmitry Orlov, if you're especially desperate for, maybe power play 1 exposure in San Jose, he is going to be getting that power play 1 with Klingberg hurt. I think Dickinson's going to get a look as well. And then you got the Wills in Will Smith and Will Eklund. Will Smith is 39% rostered. Although William Eklund, I think, has better stats. Obviously Will Smith has 4 assists, but Will Eklund's got a goal and an assist, 11 shots, a power play point. Their deployment is just about the same. So it depends what you're looking for. Like, Smith gives you a little more periphery, but I don't know. You can't go wrong with either of these guys if you really need to throw a dart at San Jose. Tier 4, this is this giant mess of teams: Seattle, Colorado, Dallas, Edmonton, LA, Nashville, Utah, Vancouver, Rangers, and Vegas. So what I did is I took all those teams, and rather than kind of go on a diatribe about 40 minutes long talking about all the options, I just picked 1 for points and 1 for bangs. Well, sometimes more than 1 for bangs if those options are available. Jared McCann's who I'm looking at out of Seattle for points. I think Tolvanen brings a nice mix of points and bangs. He's got, I think, 20 hits through their season so far. Adam Larson, tried and true. Jaden Schwartz is a good mix as well. Colorado, I'm looking at Brock Nelson for points. I'm looking at Josh Manson for bangs. Dallas, this is another team that's built a little bit like the New Jersey Devils in terms of their ownership percentages. It drops off heavy after the top guys. Tyler Seguin, I think, is 39% rostered. He's the best available option for points. And then for bangs, you're looking at Liam Bichelle, S. Lindell. Edmonton, Andrew Mangiapane, man. Line 1, power play 1. This is what we were looking for from Trent Frederick. I think Mangiapane's got a bit better CV than Trent Frederick did. So I wonder if Mangiapane's not worth, like, regardless of schedule or whatever, if he's not worth a flyer. For bangs, that's where we can look at Trent Frederick. Darnell Nurse is 61% rostered. Vasily Podkolzin's really throwing some bangs out there. Los Angeles Kings, Laferriere for points and bangs. And then you got Mikey Anderson and Jeff Malott for bangs. Nashville, Jonathan Marchessault is day-to-day, but he'd be my points option. Ryan O'Reilly right behind him. There's nobody really for bangs out of Nashville anymore. Eric Haula, I guess, maybe. Utah, you can look at Nicky Schmaltz, Barrett Hayton, Jack McBain. I think Schmaltz would be my top option there. Bangs, you're looking at Tanev, obviously, and Lawson Krause, who is number 67 for my kids who may be watching upstairs. One of two players in the NHL. They're Rickard Rakell and Lawson Krause. Vancouver has got some options for points, probably good for like cherry picking certain days, like not really like a good strong week hold, but this Sunday would look really good for them. And that's where Jake DeBrusk, Carden Garland, Evander Kane, if you're feeling froggy, and for Bangs, Kiefer Sherwood. I mean, come on. The New York Rangers, Alexi Lafreniere and Will Cooley. Those Cooley's going to bring you more Bangs, but they both have top 6 deployment. Lafreniere is getting the top power play with Trocheck out. Vegas, Ivan Barbashev. Vegas is scoring a ton. So Ivan Barbashev could be a good swing, and Jeremy Lauzon is banging up a storm. Teams with bad schedules that we can kind of move off of: Chicago, anyone that's not Bedard, Nazar, or Rinzel. And I'm speaking from like 12 and 14 team perspective. So if you're deeper, obviously you kind of have to weigh your options with guys like Bertuzzi or Teravainen. So, this is, again, not blanket advice. This is more catered towards the 12 and 14s, which I think are the more popular ones out there. 3 games played, no off nights. That's Anaheim, Boston, Florida, the Islanders, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, St. Louis. Anyone that's a fringe player on those teams. So your Rob Thomases, your Sidney Crosbys, your Tim Stutz, those are the guys we're hanging on to from these 3 games, no off nights. They are not going to be benched on these heavy nights, so it doesn't matter. But if you find yourself with somebody on the bench from one of these teams, that's your sign to turn those players into a streamer. The goalie situation for this week, that's where I think a lot of your action is going to be, a lot of your value is going to come from the guys when they do their weekend schedule, because there's just a shit ton of back-to-backs this weekend. Cam Talbot, I think, is somebody worth taking a flyer on. Like the Detroit Red Wings have, where are they at? They have 4 games. They have 3 games, sorry. And, Talbot might get 2 of those. Jake Allen, we'll see what happens there. But the New Jersey Devils, they have a back-to-back to start the week, both pretty tough opponents. So Allen's probably going to get one of those games. Maybe he gets the San Jose game as well, because I think Markstrom, he went down. So we'll see what happens if he came back. I should have looked that up. Sorry, guys. Dustin Wolf out of Calgary. Obviously he's all snapped up. He's going to get 4 for 4. So that's, you're not getting anybody in Calgary. Looking at other back-to-backs, Jesper Wallstedt will probably get this second half of the back-to-back here with Utah and the San Jose Sharks. So those would be guys I'd be looking at. There's nothing really in terms of like a full week streamer. Like I really liked last week because I was hoping to get at least 3 games at a Spencer Knight. Didn't happen that way. Actually, I think he's playing today. So maybe it was 3 games that I got out of him. But there was one game that they just randomly put, God, I'm blanking on his name. The other guy. Let's talk about some bangers to look at. Coleman, I think, is near the top of the list. Kiefer Sherwood, obviously, but Vancouver's kind of got a tough look because they're only going to be Sunday that you can really get them in. So the ones that I'd be looking at, Coleman is going to get you 4 games of solid periphery. And, guys like Brennan Dillon are worth talking about out of New Jersey if you're really like insistent on getting those things done. Adding those games, like when I'm looking at a floor for 4 games, periphery is so much easier to lean on than it is for points, because points are context dependent, random, but these periphery, like they're much more consistent. So that's what I'd be looking at out of Calgary. If you just want hits, Ryan Lomberg is your guy. He's over 5 a game, which is nuts. He's honestly, I'd be surprised if he gets you anything else but hits, but like that's what he's for. The Devils, they have Brennan Dillon, Paul Cotter. We talked about those guys. Winnipeg's got a couple options, but Yakov Trenin, Jake Middleton would be guys that I'd be not necessarily targeting, but those would be pretty top of my list. I'm going to get into the top targets now before we wrap this up. Matty Coronado, obviously Johnny Huberdeau is going to be number 2, both on the top power play out of Calgary. You could look at Morgan Frost, though I think that's a bit of a stretch. And then that's where we get into, you could look at a Joel Farabee, but even though Farabee's getting second power play exposure and Blake Coleman's getting none, I would still lean Blake Coleman, just because I think there's going to be less days where he gives you 0. So if you're in a goals and an assists, like points only, then you can probably lean heavier towards the Morgan Frost and the Joel Farabees if your league's deep enough to the point where Huberdeau's owned, like Coronado's owned, even Zach Benson, Zach Bolduc are owned, Vladimir Tarasenko. Then we can start getting into the Frost and the Farabees. So Benson would be in my tier 2 of names. I think Coronado kind of 1A tier. Benson, so my Zachs are in tier 2. Benson and Bolduc, and then Tarasenko is probably in there as well. And then I think, you kind of get a little bit more open. Like Jason Zucker is a good option. Marco Rossi, this is where Doan would come in. Matty Schaefer is definitely a priority ad, though he's shooting up in ownership percentage. Owen Power is going to give you some blocks. Then we're going to look at like a Talbot, Lyon, like, you can throw your goalies in there. I typically don't add them in. Yeah. I mean, it gets thin. Marco Rossi, I can't remember if I said him too. Jared McCann. The ones that I think are priority: Matty Coronado, Zach Bolduc for the front half of the week, Johnny Huberdeau, Blake Coleman. Those are the names that I want you guys really leaving, remembering. Zach Benson's worth a flyer. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else that I really wanted to touch on. So, thanks for bearing with me, guys. It's tough to talk for 42 minutes straight, and I appreciate you hanging out and doing it with me. So thank you. We got almost 100 people in here watching the live stream and stuff. So thank you to you guys. Get on over to YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. We do some updates here and there. Join in the Fantasy Hockey Discord. That's probably the best resource that we can offer you outside of the website, fhfhockey.com, which I'm always working on. All right, gang. I'm going to get back to the family. We're thinking about maybe a pumpkin patch. So love you guys. Bye.
Adios, turd nuggets.